Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for the incredible shareholder call that you allowed us to present to you. And what we're doing right now is there was just a plethora of questions that came in. And in an effort to try to effectively and responsibly respond to everybody, we thought we'd put out this video responding to maybe not every question, but as many questions as we possibly could. And so I'm just going to hit it right from the top in the order that they came in and try to do my best to answer some questions. So the first question that I'm just looking at here is, of the events in Dragonfly's horizon for 2021, is there one that you can comment on outside of the great news already released, thanks, that would instill even more confidence in someone wanting to invest in Dragonfly? Or is there one that could achieve what you aren't at liberty to discuss? I love it. Okay, well, so first of all, I can only discuss what would be readily publicly disclosable information to everybody, but so there's nothing I can discuss that I can't tell everybody. But yeah, I think there's a couple of things that are kind of key indicators in terms of like how well we're doing in the market, or certainly things that I would consider marquee events that really continue to establish us, maybe dominating or establishing ourselves in a market. I think the volume of flight services that we're doing in the spraying market with our proprietary VeriGuard product, I mean, that is a game changer product that is uncompetable by anybody else. It provides 24-hour plus, in my opinion, or not even FDA lab tested 20-hour plus coating protection and pathogen sequestration and kill efficacy for any pathogens on whatever we spray it on or rub your hands on or whatever. So that spraying division, to me, is a key indicator of some really big potential growth. And it also, that work that we do is also a lead into a lot of other work that we do with those organizations in terms of using drones or our technology. So I think that's a key thing to look for. I think a second key thing to look for as it relates to our business is the amount of work that we'd be doing in telemedicine with our vital intelligence technology. So marquee for me is not just in terms of the amount of kiosks that we're putting out there or the amount of installations that we're doing around schools or government installations with that technology, but also how much adoption is happening in telehealth or telemedicine. I think those are marquee things. And again, I really think they're marquee because they're areas it's very tough to compete with us in because we have such an incredible proprietary technology. I think the third area is in terms of contract engineering. So the announcements of contracts around people coming to us to have drone solutions provided. And so whether that's us building them special purpose equipment like the integrated launcher system that we just announced, or whether it's people coming to us and asking us to build out entire solutions around a drone delivery platform, those kind of marquee events that demonstrate adoption of our particular products or services, or confidence in us building things out for other people. And then, of course, just, regular sales, like seeing our sales numbers, seeing the amount of contracts that we're putting out there, how much market share we're getting. I mean, the whole industry is at a point of, really deciding who the leader is going to be and where they can place their confidence. So anything that kind of keys to the fact that like, wow, Dragonfly is in a position where credible customers are choosing them to work with and provide total solutions, or areas where other people can't compete with us on, as in the event of some of our technologies like Vital Intelligence or VeriGuard. Those are key things I would watch. So next question, is Dragonfly actively engaged in making attempts to open up new markets outside of North America? If so, based on your knowledge, in which quarter such an expansion would an expansion materialize? So we're very focused on the North American market. It's a big enough market for us to go after and participate in. It is also we have a strategic advantage here because we're a North American made product. We already supply into U.S. military contractors. Many of our products are labeled and stickered and totally made in USA type products. We've got the Canada, U.S., Mexico free trade agreement. So that whole North American market is really where we're going to continue to focus on. Now, that said, the Five Eye governments, the traditional NATO governments, if you will, they are also, we have a lot of interest in that regard, because all of those governments are in the same position where they have concerns over, non-Five Eye or kind of NATO or traditional NATO manufactured equipment. And so we are seeing very good demand in some of those markets. And if the projects are sizable enough, we are considering looking at them in such. But in terms of a full-on expansion, the same way, we'll pick and choose our opportunities, but we're very focused on the North American market, which is the largest market by far in the world. So we're well positioned there. Is there any mitigation for lawsuits that could be filed? I think that, and is there any insurance the company could buy for that? So at present, I'm not aware of any lawsuits that we have ongoing, and knock on wood, we won't have any coming up. And we certainly carry all the appropriate assurances and typical types of assurances that a company of our sort should be carrying. So at this point, I think we're in good shape. Is there any concern that the Biden administration could reverse the blocking of drones from China? So this is a great question, and we're not concerned about it. We're actually really, really enthused by the recent announcements by the Biden administration of protecting, and they have a whole policy on this, of protecting the U.S. supply chain. Now, Andy Card, who is on our board of directors and the former White House chief of staff and the former Secretary of Transportation, he is also chairman of a congressional initiative that is all about security and foreign interest and electronic or digital infiltration. And so we're really on top of where the past and the current administration are heading with this, and where the whole sentiment is on a government level. And we're very comfortable that the current trend of security and protecting our digital frontier from within is going to continue. We have also seen a really strong sentiment within our customer base to that same degree. Now, there are lots of, I also want to be clear that companies like DJI, if I can be really direct, they're really strong companies. They have fantastic engineering, they have a great product line, and we work with those. We have lots of customers that we do integrations with for their DJI products or fleets. Now, typically, most of those products are don't necessarily compete against direct products that we make, but we do make lots of payloads and AI and services and security blocks, encryption protectors, things like that around it. So it is an important piece of our business going forward, and that is a market that we don't plan to play in. We're not going to be building $1,500 drones. So having a good supplier in that market is not necessarily a bad thing for us or the North American market. But those security considerations really need to be in place. So we're really lucky that we kind of have the best of both worlds in this regard, and feel comfortable with where policy is going, not just in the United States, Canada, but also UK and the Five Eye countries. The next question here is, do you have any plans for using your camera technology in a stationary type environment? For example, having cameras mounted on the side of a building or used in locations along highways or anything of that sort. So 100%. I mean, we have literally hundreds of millions of dollars worth of opportunity right now for the VI technology in non-drone settings. And we're commercial with that. So we have installed our technology onto cameras in kiosks that are on campuses, that are on federal buildings, government buildings, prison systems, and even, as mentioned earlier, telehealth systems, your laptop, your phone. I mean, it's an incredible technology that will allow people to get their vital signs, simply by looking into a camera for a few seconds. So there's tremendous potential in it. It's absolutely crazy. Now, the fact that we can do it on a drone is just mind-blowing, and there are applications for that, but they're not really so much commercial applications. And there's some concern around privacy and all that type of stuff when you start using drones in that regard. So we're not as keen on that particular market. I have a question here. Is Dragonfly going to compete against Drone Delivery Canada as a business model, just for vaccines or for bigger payloads as well? Drone Delivery Canada, as I understand their business model, is they're going to be a delivery company. So they would be competitive against the FedExes of the world who are also launching drone delivery things. Now, I may be wrong in that case, but I believe that's their regard. And all indications, at least from what I've seen, is they're doing a great job and they're a fantastic company and well capitalized and managed and such. Our model is different. We're not going to be a specific FedEx competitor. However, we will build drone delivery systems, as we've announced with Cold Chain Technologies, one of the largest vaccine distributors in the States. We will build, design, and operate their drone delivery services for them. Many of these drone delivery services need specific logistics, specific inventory management systems, specific drones, specific payloads that are built for them. And that's really, and so our goal is for a customer like Cold Chain Technology Services to be able to give them a competitive advantage over anybody else in their space, and or to do things that will considerably drop their costs, increase their ROI and such. And what that does is it allows us to get into the market sooner. So we have revenue being generated from a contract like that, as opposed to continued heavy capital investment into, potentially having a delivery route that might get approved, and then we have to go out and find customers that might want to have us, deliver along that route. And we think there's some really big players in that particular space. And those really big players that are in that space, we are hopeful that we'll be developing technologies and contract engineering and work for that. That said, the work that we do put into building these drone delivery services for our customers are long-term contracts, reoccurring revenue, and we just find it's a better way for us to to get to the market. So I mean, we would love it if drone delivery was a customer of ours, quite frankly. So the applications for drone technologies are essentially innumerable, meaning the potential consumers are also innumerable. How is Dragonfly finding contracts, and what is your strategy in convincing consumer drone technology that could transform their business, or convincing consumers drone technology could transform their business? Again, we're really fortunate that Dragonfly has been around so long, and as the drone industry is now burgeoning and has attention to it, we pretty much get the call. We get the inbounds of, hey, if we're going to do something in the drone space, we're pretty much on the dial of somebody who's going to be looking at it. They may look at other organizations, but almost for sure they're going to give us a call and at least find out the options that are available from us. So we're in a pretty enviable position in that regard. We also have a number of high-profile projects that are underway, and so we'll continue to promote those projects, and hopefully that'll continue to drive inbound, especially with the successful implementation and completion of those projects. We also have an incredible board of directors that has terrific access at government levels and at military levels and at Fortune 500 levels. And so that's been, and our board of advisors, who is amazing, and all highly, highly engaged. And so we that's really been our strategy, and it's proving effective, and we'll continue to go down that path, certainly for the foreseeable future. Broad advertising and stuff has not been necessary to create inbound traffic for us at this point, and we don't think it will necessarily be for a number of years. So, one of the key things in business is customer attraction, and we're very fortunate that that's happening for us, and we can focus on customer satisfaction. So, drone delivery says, I think this means Drone Delivery Canada, says Transport Canada and Nav Canada are involved. Is this a hurdle, and what other regulatory hurdles are there in Canada and the US and the worldwide? Yeah, this is a highly regulated industry, and it's actually one of the competitive advantages that we have, having been around for so long. I believe up in the Canadian market, I think there's 10 drones that are authorized for commercial use. And I think 6 of those 10 drones were manufactured and built by and or Draganfly drones. So we have just in that market alone, we have a really good regulatory feel for what needs to happen. We have regulatory filings with different customers for different initiatives that are happening in the U.S., 135s, 107s, all that type of stuff. So that regulatory piece we're very much in favor of, because what it does is it sets a standard or a bar that one ultimately will produce more consumer confidence or customer confidence, but also ensures that it kind of keeps a lot of potential competitors out of the market, because it's a very high hurdle to meet. It can be expensive. You really have to be patient with it. It takes kind of all aspects of your business to be firing on all cylinders in order to be able to meet and exceed these regulatory hurdles. And again, a lot of people have complained about how regulation has been slow. I don't think regulation could have been any faster. And I think it's moving at an appropriate pace, because at the end of the day, done right, what it does is it creates a market where the consumer or your customer is confident in what is happening. And ultimately, in order to create a market that's sizable and return ROI to our shareholders, that is a key piece of what has to happen. So we feel very good about what's unfolding there. And we're very laser on it and in support of that. Are you able to give us any type of idea on how long the application process is for acceptance to Nasdaq? So that question's a little bit like how long is a string? But what I can say is that our notice of what's called our notice of intent has been filed. We do expect to be filing our AIF, which is our annual information form, to the Nasdaq shortly. In fact, if it might not already be done, but and so as best as I can tell, it's not up to us, but typically, I would like to suggest that we're maybe 60 days, 90 days out from this. All of our SEC requirements are done, and so we don't have any additional filing requirements or comments coming back in that regard. So, all goes well, let's call it 60 to 90 days, but it might be 45 and it might be 120. Recent news indicated that there are 2 privately held companies that are working hard to share the market of delivering vaccines to remote areas. One reports they will have a contract with Merck. Do you feel this competition will be significant impact on your plans? I don't know specifically of what this is referring to. Somebody might have a contract with Merck. Merck doesn't typically distribute vaccines. They usually sell it into or provide it into a distribution network. So I think that would be a big, I really don't know, to tell you the truth. But here's what I do think. I think the market is so enormous that there's going to need to be a number of competitors in this market in order to, 1, help validate the market, and 2, meet the demand and the requirement. So competition at this point for us is not what our focus is. What our focus is ensuring that there's a viable market. And quite frankly, if there's a way that we can help others in this market achieve that, then what they, that blazing, groundbreaking work that whoever does really just opens up the path for the establishment of a credible market that the rest of us can all participate in. I'm pretty comfortable. Like, at the end of the day, whoever's first is as long as somebody gets there. And if you're within that first 2 or 3, then the challenge or the opportunity or the game is who's best at it. And that's where we're really focused. And so, and as I'm sure our competition is as well. But I do think, not just given our experience, but given our ingenuity and the people we have, we're going to be able to provide services to viable customers in this market as well, if maybe not hopefully better than anybody else. How is Dragonfly equipped to handle the various projects, solutions, and missions? Now that the company has been discovered, so to speak, will there be an overload on the team, and how will the workloads be distributed for companies' success in satisfying the customer base? Yeah, fantastic question. There's an innumerable amount of opportunities. And so, first of all, for whatever reason, we've been really lucky to attract good talent. And in this company and in past projects I've had the opportunity to be a part of, attracting talent just hasn't been an issue. So that being the case, we need to stick along where we can be uncompetable. So if we look at areas where we have developed proprietary technology not just great airframes, not just incredible customer service, but products that go along with it that make us so you can't compete with us. You can't compete with us in spraying, right? You can't compete with us in vital intelligence or health security or health, that whole health sector. And in some other areas like mining and forestry, we either had and or have products coming out that are completely proprietary that just nobody else has. And so, when a mining company wants to do work with us, our AI allows us to help them pick targets and do data analysis better and things like that. So AI and data is a really, really big part of what we do. And so it's when we can leverage those areas that those become kind of bigger areas that we like to focus in, because we know we've got a longer runway, greater margin, and deeper customer satisfaction. You're right. There's no shortage of opportunities right now, and so we'll pick and choose based on ROI, margin, and customer satisfaction possibility. Are there any other projects or developments that Dragonfly is working on that will be implemented over the next 24 months that have not been, or that have been made public yet? Or I think they may have not been made. They have been made public yet. Well, here, either one. Let me just answer the question this way. We're an innovative company. If even in our deck, you look through, every year we come out with an innovation, at least one. And they're not like, oh, hey, we've got an extra 15 minutes of battery life or something. These are full-on patents. We just announced a brand new cargo patent that we think is game changing. We've been working on it for years, so we had some prior art that really gave us the ability to be able to file this and do it. Even though maybe a bunch of the market has kind of been working in this direction, we've got patents on it. So just like our patent for removable blades or foldable arms, which is basically every drone in the market, infringes on that. We think our cargo patent here is the same situation, and that's a massive market. So whether it's patents or whether it's our VI technology with AI, or whether it's the VeriGuard technology that allows us to provide a spraying service that nobody else can do, we're going to continue to innovate. That is absolutely our culture. It's what allows us to attract great people. It's what allows us to satisfy customers in a way that others can't. So the answer is yes. There's tons of projects underway, innovative projects underway. Which ones we bring to market and how we bring them to market, that becomes a commercial decision that works through some additional channels internally. But in terms of incredible technology and incredible innovation, that's just what we love to do. So yeah, we got lots of it coming. Does Dragonfly plan to expand its sanitization drone technology into other states, sports stadiums, and arenas throughout North America, and even globally for professional sports, college, and university sports? Yeah, 100%. This is a massive. We're in the midst right now of trying to ramp 50 crews, and in my opinion, we could ramp 500 crews and not meet the demand right now, in particular because of the type of product that we have. This will be a product that far outlasts, the COVID pandemic as well. This is the new norm. Health, security, and public safety in this regard is the new. We will not get ourselves back into a position, I believe, as a society where a pandemic can grab us by the throat like this again. The other thing is that, from an overall sociological and society perspective, we see less colds, we see less flus, we see a whole bunch of other benefits around some of the health security that's now kind of becoming the norm. Now, so in that regard, I think as this passes over the next 18 to 24 months, we will continue to see as a standard and an insistent by the consumers that are using those stadiums or drones or schools or prisons or whatever it is, we're going to continue to see spraying services in a big way. So yeah, this is a huge piece of business for us that will continue to expand. And we think we've got some plans underway right now that will allow us to expand in a way where we can meet the demand. But those are yet to be revealed. Joe Biden imposed stringent new Made in America rules for U.S. government spending Monday, adding a caveat likely troubling to Canada. No government contracts will be given to companies that don't make their products here in America. Will this hamper Dragonfly's business venture in the USA? And how would this impinge the company's move onto the Nasdaq? So no effect on the Nasdaq move at all. We have been manufacturing for our U.S. customers and in the US doing parts of assembly and certainly our VeriGuard product, all of that, that's all US stuff. We do have some manufacturing up in Canada, which is part of the Canada-US Mexico Free Trade Agreement, also part of NATO and the Five Eyes organization. I live in the US, my kids are American. We're incorporated in Canada, but for all intents and purposes, we're a US company. We've got US subs. We're North American made and built, and we're really committed to this market. And so all of our positioning is to make sure that those types of policies and procedures that are being put in place by the Biden administration actually favor us. That's exactly the market that we're not moving into. That is the market that we're in. That is the market that we cater to. So so we're all in favor of that announcement and those policies that are coming down. Have you closed any deals, or are you working on any deals with telemedicine software companies such as Teladoc for vital intelligence? I think I referenced it in one of the earlier questions as well. Telemedicine will be a really big piece of the equation for vital intelligence technology. And so there are a number of telemedicine companies that we are working with right now to integrate that technology into. It's game changing. And it's remote patient monitoring, and it's billable under Medicare and Medicaid and a number, if not all, of the insurance companies out there. So that, along with a bunch of other applications within medicine, this technology is incredibly relevant. So we're really excited about what's unfolding there. Do you plan on conducting a reverse split to raise your price solidly above $4, which is the minimum share price required for Nasdaq? If so, when? So I don't know is the answer. We'll see where the share price is as we approach the actual time of listing, and we'll take advice from the professionals in the space, in particular our bankers, and we'll do it in a manner, in a way that's most beneficial to the shareholders, at large. So, have you entertained marketing the vital sign screening technology at sporting events, stadiums, Walt Disney World, and most notably the upcoming Olympics, in a way that can be convenient for the owners and everyone else in attendance? I would feel a successful relationship with at least one sporting stadium would snowball into many contracts worldwide in different but similar private sectors. Yeah, we're very active in this space. We've got a very strong pipeline and innumerable amount of conversations that are happening right now with stadiums and teams and facilities, whether they're looking at utilizing the technology on kiosks, or whether they're looking to utilize the technology on smartphones or security cameras, or whatever the case is. So there's you can expect announcements over the coming quarters in this regard. Yeah, that's a very strong and big initiative for us. So I'd like to hear more about the scalability of the company. If a company as big as Amazon wanted a full service contract with Dragonfly, does the company already have the capacity? How difficult would it be to make this happen? If I recently started investing in the company and am very interested in the long-term future from what I've read and the services Dragonfly provides, I'm just interested how big this thing can go from a scale standpoint. It seems to me you have all the components of being a market leader in the near future if scalability is there. Yeah, 100%. That's a great question. So scalability really is a key indicator, a key thing that we're focused on. Now, what a lot of companies end up doing, and that I've seen in the past, is they'll prematurely scale. They'll go out and they'll build a whole bunch of infrastructure for this incredible market that's unfolding, and so that they're ready for it and they can meet the demand and be the market leader and own the market share. I tend to skew a bit more to scale according to the demand that you have in-house. And so while it makes it a bit more stressful for everybody, premature scaling is what kills most companies. So here's specifically how we address this, though, is we are scaling with customers. So we don't go into a market, create a new technology, advance something, unless we have a customer that we're doing it with. What this does is it rather than pre-scaling and building everything in anticipation of the customer, even if we've got really good indication that customers are coming, it allows us to build a solution that a customer has already used. inevitably what happens is when you pre-scale, you're ready, you have the first customer comes in, and then you do what I call is rescale, because what you've done is you've built something in and you've anticipated what the customer wanted, even though you might be an expert and have very good indications of what that is. Until you are actually implementing with the customer, you are continually tweaking how you're going to scale up that customer, or if you need to scale in a certain direction, or how your MVP needs to change, and so on and so forth. So I have seen more companies than not pre-build, and I guess it's worked sometimes in history, but pre-build and be ready to own the market, right? They're ready for it, only to have somebody else who's a smaller competitor who's actually done customer integrations surpass them, because they're not spending money rescaling the operation because of the things they anticipated they were wrong about. And you're wrong every single time. I liken working with customers or introducing a new product into a market, like Mike Tyson's famous saying is like, everybody thinks they know how to fight until you get hit in the face. Or the other one is, everybody has a battle plan, right? And until the battle starts. Everything changes at that moment. Absolutely. An innumerable amount of things that you have not been able to anticipate will happen. And at the end of the day, the only thing that counts is what the customer needs and wants. So I do think that we have the experience to scale. And I do think it will be a big challenge, scaling. However, I think the bigger risk is trying to pre-scale and end up having to rescale in that effort. So we're going to take the approach of like, we're going to continue to innovate, but when we innovate, it's because we have a specific customer demand. If we do a great job, that customer will be patient with us. That customer knows they've got the right solution that's going to allow them to dominate or be successful in their market. So they're going to work with us on that scaling plan. And ultimately, it's the quality of that product and service that we get to the customer that ends up winning the market share. So hopefully that suffices on how our strategy or thinking is. Can you elaborate more on embarking on an aggressive M&A strategy? So we definitely will be doing some M&A over the course of the year. There is some incredible talent out there that we would love to see if they would like to be a part of Dragonfly. So as we go out this year, we'll be looking for the right talent. We'll be looking for the right technology, and we'll be looking to see if they've already got customer adoption. We won't be buying anything that's a science project. We won't be buying anything that doesn't have any customers, because what's really important is that we've seen a company that has done all the really intricate commercialization. Isn't about just building a great tech. It's about having a customer use that tech. And so those are our criteria. There will be some smaller companies, and I think there will likely be some larger ones as well. And the larger ones will be a little bit more along the lines of they've got a specific market share that we can then plug our existing tech into, and then the 1 + 1 = 3 type of scenario. So will Dragonfly pursue its strategy independently or take on strategic partners? 100%. We'll be doing lots of partnering. We've had the very good fortune with our experienced management team in the past to have experience doing partnerships and have the experience of trying to run things, run the gauntlet on your own. And I think probably 100% of the time we would all agree as a management team that working with partners is a better way to go. It's not really about dividing up the pie out there, because one, the pie is so enormously big for this market that we're in that there's no hope that we are no need for us to try to own it all anyway. So working with partners not only ensures, quite frankly, that we create a better customer experience, but also that we not just divide up the pie, but make a bigger pie. So we're totally all about partnering, and I think we've announced some of that already. And I think from us you can expect to see a whole bunch more of it. Whatever it takes to really drive that customer engagement and win customers and drive value for them, that's what we're going to be striving toward. So I have a question here that says, hey Cam, would it be possible to know a little bit more about what you were doing before Dragonfly? So I've been an entrepreneur all my entire working life, and so I've just constantly been building companies, focusing on tech, learning how to work and deal and sell and satisfy customers. Previous to Dragonfly, we had built a company that had actually put cameras on the outside of the International Space Station. And in fact, they're the only video cameras of Earth from space. We've got another company called Coldboard that we have built a downhole sensor technology and smart pad technology to help environmentally manage fracking systems. So it's, just building a lot of tech and a lot of really cool companies with some incredible teams. I built AI systems for shopping apps that Home Depot uses and that Macy's uses. You can actually take a picture of anything and it will find it in their inventory and let you purchase it in one click. So I guess the short answer is building tech and hopefully satisfying customers. Will there be any other partnerships with other HBCUs, Alabama, A&M, University, Howard, etc.? We sure hope so. We are thrilled to be working within the historical Black university and college community. We think that the products and the work that we have done, in particular with ASU, have really given us some great insight as to how we can be of greater service there. So there are lots of discussions going on and lots of opportunities and potentials. So all I can really say is stay tuned. Data suggests that PCR testing is overdiagnosing COVID-19 hugely. How's Dragonfly preparing for a possible reduction in cases? Our view is that the new norm, or the reality of what we're calling health security, is such that even after vaccinations and even after prolific testing and all the rest of that gets put in place, is that as a society, we have a new set of expectations around and set of education or edification internally as to what exactly we can do to help ensure that this type of thing doesn't happen to us again, or so that when it does happen again, that we are proactive or have a response to it so that it doesn't completely and totally cripple us as a society and as an economy. So preventative measures for screening, preventative measures for spraying, even to protect us just against cold and flu, et cetera, are things that we just see as the new norm. I kind of liken it a little bit, after 9/11, where we had an entire set of new protocols come in to help protect us from potential terrorism threat. And, a lot of that threat has been eliminated, but it's never totally eliminated. The specific threat, Osama bin Laden, was eliminated. But of course, all of those new norms or those protocols are still in place. So even if we were to get to a spot where COVID-19 were eliminated, which I don't think, and I haven't read anybody that thinks that will happen, but even if it's greatly reduced, the new norms and protocols are still going to be in place to help ensure that we don't get back into the same situation. So this health security industry is a new multi-billion-dollar critical infrastructure industry, in our opinion. And so we're gearing up for that. And so the spike that we see that's happening right now in terms of is really only a spike in adoption, but it's not a spike in terms of, market potential or how that market will continue to unfold. First of all, congratulations again on what you're doing. When you're thinking about the drone industry, we can imagine the high number of players being present in the market and those who will be born out of this next year. What do you believe is your competitive advantage? So first of all, thanks so much for the kind words. Dragonfly has been around for 20 plus years, and this isn't the first kind of drone push or valuation increase or enthusiastic time frame around drones. This is probably about the third one, but I do think it's different this time because we've seen the convergence of regulatory, customer adoption, and technology. And so we really are seeing the inflection point. But a couple of other times over the past 20 years that we've seen great enthusiasm and investment and everybody kind of rushing into the market, both those times we have seen all the competition go away. and basically the last time in particular, there was a big rush of manufacturers coming in and trying to produce low-cost drones, really almost consumer-focused, slight commercial-focused, and DJI in particular and the Chinese manufacturers really have completely dominated that space. And so, like, quite literally, whether it was GoPro when they were launching their drones, or Airware, or 3DR, or Lily, or all of which have had acquisition conversations with us at one point or the other, which we didn't go forward with, all of which were taking on a particular strategy that they felt would, help them dominate the market. And, we really stuck to our knitting at that time, which was we decided to pull back on our production of products and really focus in on our contract engineering and developing our patent portfolio and really building up our AI and our engineering bench. So preparing for the top. Our view has always been that the commercial and the solution approach, if you look at really the maturing of any new type of industry, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that that's where it was going to go. We knew we couldn't compete in the consumer market, and nor did we really want to be in a market that was generally, a race to the bottom. And so we've been, preparing and positioning and surviving through those very lean times in order to be in the spot that we're at today. So no doubt about it, we're going to see a plethora now of U.S. innovation manufacturers coming to market. I think our competitive advantage in that case is a fewfold. First of all, we've been around for 20 years, so we have an incredible amount of customer experience. And there's no amount of dollars that can be put on really understanding what a customer needs and how to scale to that customer's needs. So you've got a lot of startups who will have great ideas, great IP, a bunch of stuff, but they, until you get in front of customers and learn how to scale it, you don't really understand if you're going to be successful, regardless of the amount of money that gets put into the project. So listen, John Chambers was the chairman of Airware. Andreessen Horowitz put $200 million into that company. They had State Farm was an investor, Caterpillar was an investor. They had every advantage in the world, and they tried to buy us, and they were like, "You understand that we're going to own this market, we're going to crush everybody, and you're just, you should join us." And all that. And they were very polite about it. Don't get me wrong, but the reality is they're gone. They're not here because they weren't in front of the customers the same way that we have been. So I really think that that's our biggest competitive advantage is our customer experience. Second of all is, and not in this order, but second of all is our IP portfolio. We have a small IP portfolio, but it's prolific. It's 19 patents. We've got about 40 pendings, and we've got about 100 that, or more, whatever, that we just haven't even put forward because, it's not competitively to our advantage to put them forward. But in those 19 patents, there's a lot of core patents, like, for example, removable blades. And, that removable blade patent, we sold and then licensed back the exclusive use of it, but we sold the patent actually to Autel about 2 years ago now. And, for a decent sum of money for us, which helped keep, progressing our IP bench and growing our business. That Autel won a $190 million lawsuit against DJI on that patent. And DJI was ordered to take, some of their best-selling lines off the market. Now, since that time, DJI has appealed, and that's a whole different business model, and they're doing it. The only reason I bring it up is it really speaks to the prolific nature of the IP we have. So the latest patent that we just were granted is a vertical takeoff and horizontal flight cargo drone that has a very unique way of balancing the load as it transitions into horizontal flight. Now, this is going to be critical for vibration control and basically sensitive type of cargos. Now, listen, we built that because we know that that's going to be a market, and something else we don't usually build things unless we have a customer that we're building it for. So that's another example of the fact that we marry our IP portfolio, which is prolific, but it's based on, you can get an IP for a crazy idea, but it doesn't matter if it's not commercial. So our IP portfolio is built with those customer interactions in mind that we've had the 20 years of working with. So I think those are really our very, very tangible competitive advantages in the market. Now, I have to say it's our people as well, but every CEO is going to say their people is their competitive advantage. And so, but underneath that, I do think it's our culture. The one thing that you cannot compete with is culture. And in fact, as much as I like to think that our IP gives us competitive advantage, and as much as I would like to think that, our customer experience gives us a competitive advantage, and now we're well capitalized as well. So, all of those things are great. But underneath it all, the only thing that you cannot compete, that is uncompetable, is culture. And I personally believe that the culture that we have developed around service and the culture that we have developed around customer service, and our focus is to make our customers uncompetable. When you deal with Dragonfly as a customer, you're going to have a competitive advantage. And I believe that culture, that passion, that just insane focus on that is our true competitive advantage. So what is the status of the Reg A offering? So great question on the Reg A. So we were, again, super lucky to do a Reg A offering. And so we have closed that off now. It was a $16 million raise. It has a 9-month lockup from the time of closing, which is right around now, kind of this coming up week. It will officially be closed. It's closed off. You can't invest in it anymore. And there's 2 things or 3 things maybe that are really prolific about the Reg A. First of all, it was a great number. We closed it off with $16 million. So we have a great a vastly improved balance sheet right now. The second thing is that that stock is locked up for 9 months from the time of closing, which is important to note because it would have been calculated now at a discount to what the market is because the stock has started to perform and be discovered by the broader market. So even those shareholders, I think, can take heart in knowing that that stock is locked up. But even more importantly, I think the average investment size there was about $2,500. So what's incredibly cool about this is, one, when that stock does come free trading, it's not like there's a whole wall of stock that is coming out that could potentially hurt the stock price at that time, because it's held across about 5,000 investors. So now that's what's really exciting to me. Those 5,000 investors, which I get to have an interaction with, and I see who they are and stuff. They're driving business. They are I wish I could share some of their names, but it's incredible who the investor base is of this company. And they're bringing business. They're bringing real business, not like, hey, here's an idea, like very specific business, qualified with incredible companies and such. So, we're almost having a tough time keeping up with the inbounds that our shareholders are bringing us. And that also lends to the fact that they're passionate and they're engaged and they're not sellers. So hopefully, again, if we continue to execute, by the time that lockup comes out, those shareholders have been so engaged in driving the value of the company that they're fans and they're building they're investors. They're not traders. The other piece is, because the average size of each of those investors was limited to such a small amount, what we have seen is that people will go in and they have bought a piece of the Reg A, but then they're also buying stock in the aftermarket as well. Again, getting a nice blended price, but also helping smooth out and broaden our shareholder base. So the Reg A experience has been absolutely incredible for us. In the future, do you guys see yourself partnering with any e-commerce companies to build or provide drone deliveries? The answer is, I think, unequivocally yes. So we will be partnering and/or providing equipment, services, engineering to e-commerce based companies. In fact, in our past, we have already done that with names that are well known out there. Certainly, we think that there will be much more of that in the future. There's probably going to hardly be an e-commerce company out there that doesn't have a delivery aspect to it. Given our capability to provide total solutions for those companies and/or unique solutions that give them a competitive advantage over, say, other e-commerce competitors, we expect that to be a significant area of growth. Now, we've already announced with Cold Chain Technology Services, which is not an e-commerce company, it's a medical distribution company, the system that we're building out for them. And so we see our model not necessarily being, the actual delivery company. Will be the operator of the logistics and the delivery company and the technology and the regulatory compliance and so on and so forth. But those particular services will probably be branded in somebody else's name. So very excited for your future. With Ag Eagle's recent acquisition of MicaSense, will Dragonfly continue to use this MicaSense sensor? So first of all, thanks for the kind words. And listen, MicaSense is a fantastic sensor. It's a really great company. A great acquisition for Ag Eagle. Really smart move, in my opinion, for what it's worth, for them to have done that. I would say that Dragonfly has probably done more integrations and technically understands the MicaSense sensor, other than MicaSense itself, than anybody else in the world. In fact, Gabriel, who's the founder, after he left AeroVironment, a decade or more ago, came to Zenon, who was our original founder, who the company's named after, Zenon Dragonfly. So they developed that, or he came to Dragon to do the initial development and testing work and such on it. So and we've probably done more integrations of MicaSense. I don't know that for sure, but we've probably done more integrations of that sensor than any other individual drone solution company out there. And I mean like really deep integrations, not like taking Velcro and strapping it on somebody else's drone, but I mean right into the controller system, so that you don't have to switch between screens, or you don't have to, you can stream the data. Some super custom applications where we've applied our own proprietary AI with some of the MicaSense data to provide a result to some particular companies, particularly in the environmental space, that make them uncompetable. So listen, for sure we're going to continue to use MicaSense. It's a great product. We're not really focused on if somebody's a competitor or not a competitor. What we're really focused on is what's the best solution for the customer. And as long as we're delivering that and MicaSense is a part of that equation, we'll be using MicaSense. Do you have any pending patents, and can you provide details on a few? So yes, we do. We have a lot of pending patents, and we have a lot of pending patents. So I mean, it's what we love to do. We love to develop new tech. And now a couple of differences though is we don't generally come up with stuff for the sake of coming up with it. It's driven by a customer initiative, or it's driven by a problem that a customer had, or some insight that we had on a customer deployment or an engineering project or something. We're like, wow, if we could solve that, that's a very unique thing that should be patented. And so yeah, we're going to continue to do that. It's a key part of our culture, regardless of the competitive advantage it potentially gives us. It's a really key part of our culture. So we'll be doing that. In terms of talking about a few of the key ones, or any of them coming up, unfortunately I can't do that just because I don't want to risk any prior art knowledge or that affecting any of those patents. But I can talk a little bit about some of the other patents that we have that people probably aren't even aware of. One of the ones that we have is basically the ability to guide a drone just using hand movements instead of a controller at all. And so this is something that we've had for years, and we actually start to see this come out a little bit now, where people are having small drones, selfie type drones, and they're just using hands up and down or signals or whatever to actually control the drone itself. And so that has applicability as to some of the military contracting work that we do specifically, and we do think it'll have more and more applicability going forward. But that's not that we've had that for years, and in fact, that was technology that over 7 years ago we actually deployed. And I love when I see companies coming out now going, "Oh, this is the new and the greatest thing, and it's going to change everything that happens," or it's kind of like, kind of been there, done that a little bit. So that doesn't always happen, but it's a little satisfying when it does. Another one, which is kind of cool, that just came to mind is we've got a patent for a drone that flies. Obviously, that's what drones do, but a quad drone. But then as it lands, the outer rim of the propellers have a frame around them and actually a rubber track that then fold up like this. And those four propeller or the borders around them, the boundaries, actually become wheels. So we have a drone that flies, lands, transitions, and then drives. So that's kind of a fun one. And we've got another one where we actually have a wheel. Everybody says, you'll never reinvent the wheel, but our people did, sorry. Our wheel that actually folds in on itself and turns into grappling hooks. And then that wheel as grappling hooks actually can then climb stairs or walls or all kinds of things. So In our ground robot, we have a ground robot that that can climb stairs. It's about a $30,000 unit. And at least to my knowledge, the only other non-tracked robot out there that can climb stairs is $500,000 plus. So this is a pretty unique innovation that we've applied into that particular application. So lots of fun stuff. So can you speak to whether Dragonfly is investing in cybersecurity software to protect the data analytics that your firm's products are capturing for its customers? Yeah, security is a big piece of what we do. It's an underlying value proposition, in particular into the North American market, and in particular given the digital and cybersecurity concerns and the capabilities of drones to collect so much data. So we have proprietary security that we do put in place. We have other security that we put in place that's not commercial, that's for our military contracting side of the business. We've done things and are designing things around some of the current drones out there that are made by Chinese manufacturers, for example, where you've got maybe commercial firms that don't want to get rid of their entire fleet of drones that may be Chinese, but they want to have a system to ensure that the data can't get into those the drone, if you will, or the operating system and have a way to be transmitted back or collected. And so we have some techniques and products and services that actually separate those two, but still allow the control of the drone to happen while all the data, anything relevant at all, isn't being able to be captured by that particular device. So, and then certainly on our server side and our storage side, we've got all the stuff that typically needs to be put in place and then some. So yeah, security is a big underlying value proposition of what we do. So what does Dragonfly gain from So what does Dragonfly gain from its work with AeroVironment and the Quantix? AeroVironment is a Tier 1 Class A military contractor. They build incredible products. And the only commercial product that they have is the Quantix. It's designed primarily for agriculture. It certainly has other uses, but it's designed for agriculture, and it's very, very smart. It was really thought through as a solution. So in ag, typically you've got a low margin industry that can't necessarily afford to have crews come out and fly crops to provide this critical, whether it's moisture data or, growth data or plant health or, genetic or all kinds of the stuff that can be captured, but it's expensive. And so, so it really hasn't taken off other than maybe within a few big, commercial operators, that the drone industry in ag hasn't taken off the way that everybody thought it would. Now, I think it will. So the other challenge is that, a farming operation, to then go buy a drone that can do this type of work is not a $1,500 drone. It's, let's call it by the time you put all the sensors and the software and everything else, you're kind of looking around $15,000, no matter who you buy it from, even if it's a low cost producer. And so a $15,000 investment, that's a decent capital investment, but then you have to learn how to be a pilot. And then, goodness sakes, you crash the thing. Right. And then you have, so it's a complex operation. The Quantix is an autonomous drone. And so you just, on your smart pad or your iPhone, you plug in the coordinates you want it to fly, you hit start, and the thing takes off like a SpaceX rocket. It flies like an airplane. It does all the survey work, collects all the data, and comes and lands back down. Right. And, the farm crew or the farmer, the farm hand, whatever, picks it up, puts it in its pack, and the data's already back, on the computer. End of story. You don't need to be a pilot to fly it. And it's a really important distinction in terms of just like the very basic practical use of how a drone would get used in agriculture. And it's incredibly efficient, covers a crazy amount of ground. So Dragonfly is the exclusive partner and distributor of this product with AeroVironment. It's their only commercial product, and we're honored that they would work with us on this product line. And so together we've got incredible plans for where this product will go, how it will integrate with different sensors in the future, including the mica sense, which we've done and talked a little bit about earlier, and the strategic advantage that it will give farmers who actually use not just this drone, but the platform, the agricultural platform that we're building around that particular device. So, it's just a huge feather in our hat that we've got an organization who we do other work with as well, being AeroVironment, that trusts us and works with us to bring this really important innovation and platform into the agricultural industry. So the next question here is, do we have much in terms of revenue streams to sustain our business for the next year, or are we in the process of raising funds? So listen, Dragonfly is just, our year-end filing isn't out yet, but we're in that $5 million ish range for 2020, and we had 50% Q over Q revenue growth. We had a 54% margin, I believe, and year over year we had 200% growth. And so certainly from my perspective, I expect to see that same type of growth rate continue based on the visibility that we have into our pipeline, and just based on the visibility of just the number of projects I'm working on, and I'm just one person in that whole kind of system. And so I think we've got a sustainable revenue stream. We do have reoccurring revenues. We do have long-term contracts, and we're out selling and solving every single day. We have raised some money, as you may know, in the Reg A financing. So that was a $16 million raise. We've had some warrants exercise in the company of another few $1 million. So our balance sheet, is in the range of, 18 to $20 million now. So will we raise more money? I think a lot of that depends on some of the M&A opportunities that are in front of us right now. Obviously, how the stock price does, and then taking into consideration our Nasdaq uplisting. So we'll be as prudent as we can. We're very focused on wanting to create and drive value for every single share. So we don't want to dilute. But at the same time, we do understand that a strong balance sheet is going to help us ensure that we gain and create more market share. Okay. So is there a role for Dragonfly to create in the locating and reconnecting missing persons and animals tagged as a subscription consumer service for the tracking and finding, or for the tracking and finding of military personnel and canines? So I think that's a super creative idea. And we have done a lot of search and rescue stuff with our public safety clients. But I think, what this speaks to is that really the possibilities are endless, and there are numerous use cases that are always showing up for us that people are looking to solutions to. And I think that speaks more to our strategy as an organization, maybe compared to other people that are in the market, where they're saying, hey, they're building a very specific piece of hardware to do a very specific thing. And given the length of time that we've had in the industry and the strength of all the different benches we really have the opportunity to bring pretty much any solution together and provide it for our clients. And that's really our competitive advantage, and where we'll continue to push our model. So what's our employee count, and how many engineers you have, and where are they based? So I couldn't tell you the exact amount of employees that we have, and we have a combination of employees and contractors, and depending on how busy we are at different times and who we're using and working and utilizing on. That said, we do have a manufacturing base in Saskatoon and Vancouver. We have operations in Los Angeles, Michigan, and Raleigh. So, and we have people in all of those different locations as well. So we kind of have the coasts covered and everything that we need to do in order to be able to provide operations for our customers. There are a couple of other locations that we're very close to opening up as well, again, based on customer demand. So how do you intend to protect the proprietary data analytics programs and integrations? So we have security protocols that we go through as an operational company, the data center, the cloud, all of those types of things. All of our procedures are well documented with our customers as they come in. There's also a whole security protocol that we go through on each new project that started, or each new solution that we're developing out. So, tough to run through every little thing, but basically it's kind of number 2 on the checklist of everything that we go through when we're developing out a solution or a project for a customer. Yeah, so we have security protocols, obviously operationally for our company. Then we have actually different security protocols for each product line. And then as we start and we're building out a project or a solution for a customer, we also have a whole set of security protocols that we design and build out with them. And they range at anything from the type of data centers that we're using, the type of cloud infrastructure that's in place, where the data is going to be residing, if it's HIPAA compliant type data, so that it has to remain in their customers' hands. If it's a medical customer, then they actually don't even have access to it. Only the end user does. Right through to encryption-based stuff that's used for communication or for streaming information from drones. So again, it's totally case dependent, but it's kind of number 1 or 2 on the checklist every time we're doing something. So Dragonfly has been around for 2 decades. Why do 80% of drones still come from China? Sounds right. So in terms of the consumer commercial market, the vast amount of volume of drones are still in the consumer side of things, or on the lower end of the commercial side of things. And so that really comes down to a low cost device product, generally very low margin product. And that's where, Chinese manufacturers really thrive. They do a fantastic job. And some of their products have been so good that even those consumer products have been able to push into the commercial space successfully. So that's just not where we play and operate. We play and operate generally in mission critical and or high value, higher margin areas. And what's interesting about that is that as drones and their use of drones become more valuable, especially with what's getting delivered and the data that goes along with that delivery, or the survey or the mapping or the health security, then because it's more critical, the value of that data goes up. And so the work that we're doing, the market that we work in, is actually expanding very quick. So if we think about the consumer or the small, typical mission, take some video kind of market that the Chinese drones really are fantastic for, it's I don't know if it's max, but it's certainly reached a point where it's well past the chasm. But if you look at the high value market, not only is it being adopted by customers who have high value needs, but because the drones are so effective and the data is so critical, that market is actually even expanding. So we have adoption that's happening, while at the same time we have an expansion of possibility that's happening in that market. So it's not a matter of like, hey, 80% of drones come from here and 20% comes from there. It's like, hey, where is the margin and what is that fastest growing part of the market? And that's where we play. And quite frankly, if we even captured a small percentage of that market, we'd be a massive company. Now, it's our objective to, be a really, really strong and even dominant player in that overall market. So are airlines and airports interested in Dragonfly's vital intelligence technology? For sure. Yeah, we have deployments, pilots, and customers in those areas that we're working with right now, and we're going to continue to see that area grow. Not just during this pandemic phase, but basically for the entire new industry of health security. And we're really focused on being a significant player in that space. So any more updates on the vaccine drone? Would like to see a little more color as to how that opportunity is being implemented. So we're very active on the project right now, between payload designs, drone designs, integration of different types of drones, use case scenarios, actually working with the end users right now to determine, what are the exact best parameters that suit the mission. Definitely working on the regulatory side. The nice thing is that we have a customer. We have a customer who's building out a service and they have an immediate need that has an ROI return for them. And this is something that is a bit unique, in my opinion anyways, from what I've seen in the industry, where you have a lot of build it and they will come happening, which again is totally fine. Our approach has been and remains, let's get a customer partner and build with them so that we create an immediate ROI. They're really motivated in that case to move the projects along, work with their customers. It's just for their business, it's the right thing. So we'll certainly provide more and more updates on that as we can in proper disclosure process. Hi, does the company have any plans to increase its legal team strength? So it doesn't have to rely on external third parties to purchase and then protect their IP. So we've worked in specifically as it relates to IP. We've got a couple of really key relationships, firms and particular lawyers that we've worked with for years on the IP who really understand the drone space and Dragonfly, and we'll continue to work with them. We have a very strong board that has a number of lawyers on it. We do have a GC, a general counsel. And so, as we grow from a cost perspective, if we need to bring more legal internal, we certainly will. That's just a cost benefit analysis that we'll evaluate on all fronts, not just IP as we move forward. So I'm subscribed to the Reg A Plus offering, but the stock has not yet been issued. Will I receive the stock? Yeah, for sure. You'll receive the stock. It'll be at a trust company, and you'll have the opportunity to accept it or transfer it to your brokerage firm or take physical cert or whatever it is. So that's all happening between the brokerage firms and the trust companies, and the portal that you subscribe through is probably the best place to get all that information. There's also some numbers there and people that are on standby to answer any of your questions specifically around that. And now the stock does have a 9-month lockup on it from the time of purchase. So there is that consideration, but you'll still be able to see the stock in electronic form and such. So, but if you have any further questions, I'd suggest you just go to the Dragonfly Reg A page and find the call-in number, or the portal that you invested through has all the contact information there. Could you share some more detail? So could you share some more detail about the ag drones? Is that the Quantix? You mentioned a drone used by data collection and inventory for forests. Is that the Quantix or the Tango? And what are the differences or similarities? Yeah, so the Quantix line is our ag line. Not that we don't use Commander in ag, or that you couldn't use the Tango in ag as well. But the Quantix is really a fantastic unit for ag. From a self-operator perspective, because you don't have to fly it. It's an autonomous drone. So, I mean, you program in the flight plan, you hit go, and it takes off and lands, and it's just beautiful. It transfers the data. It's, really, really slick that way. So that's definitely the ag product that we're going to be pushing hard over the course of this next year. And keep in mind, too, that that's a great ag product. But what we like to do with each of our verticals is we like to build an entire end-to-end solution using best of breed, and or then using our bench strength to be able to add even additional things into it, that even if somebody else has a platform, hopefully we're doing things that become uncompetable for our clients, or just add such value that it just doesn't make sense for them not to purchase the product from us. So that's on the ag side. The Tango certainly can be used for ag, no question about it. But one of the areas that we're really seeing is inspection and surveillance. Because the Tango has such an incredibly long flight time, and it's a really, really unique vehicle in terms of the fact that it flies just above stall speed. So literally, when you're watching this thing in the air, it just appears like it's just in one spot. So because it's got a push propeller and such a vast amount of wing space and the way it's positioned, is it can fly very, very slow. So it kind of acts like a quadcopter, but it's got like an 11-hour flight time. So, which is just outstanding. Now, that said, you kind of, angle the wings a little bit, and the prop adjusts a little bit, and then you got a fantastic airplane or fixed wing aircraft as well. And so it's really, so in almost stall speed, it's great for doing surveillance and hovering and loitering, if you will. But it also, a little tilt to the propeller and away it goes. And it's great as an inspection unit for, say, pipelines and a lot of the BV loss, the beyond visual line of sight work that will be coming up in the near future. So. Those are those kind of two drones, and again, not that we can't use the Commander line or a number of other drones or heavy lift drones, for example, for spraying within agriculture. So that's another big area that we'll be talking about in the coming future. Okay, so 62. So on the health discussion about determining SpO2, is that exclusive to Dragonfly, or is that something others can do? So we have seen other technology on device that can do heart rate, respiratory rate, and SpO2. We've seen one other system. So the difference with our system, which is it's proprietary, it's ours, is that ours is backed by clinical research, third party, peer reviewed, and the other work that we've seen out there isn't. It's kind of in a black box and nobody really knows how it works. So the only published work that we've ever come across is the work that we have. From that aspect, it's entirely unique. From the aspect of anybody else doing it, we've seen one other company doing it. It's not competitive. We've never run into them. We've never, it's just such a vast market. So we're really, really excited about what this means for us. And if you don't have published work, you actually can't, get that type of technology, even into the Apple Store, for example. Like I would believe it'd be very, very tough to put something into a telehealth or a telemedicine app that doesn't have published work behind it. So I think those are some of the differentiators for us around that. Yeah. So how big is the sales pipeline compared to current sales? It's overwhelming. I don't know what else to say. It's just totally overwhelming. We're doing our best to scale and meet it and not pre-scale too fast. We definitely want to match our sales prudently with the scaling that we're putting into the size and vastness of the opportunities that the entire drone market is offering, but also our specific technologies are able to create. So it's kind of like asking like how long is a string. That's very tough to quantify, but it's we're building $1 billion company. Maybe that's the best way to say it. Sure. So the screening tests, how accurate compared to gold standard testing? So I'm not entirely sure what gold standard testing is, but in terms of accuracy, all our benchmark testing are well within acceptable means. If we run demos, I'm on multiple demos, dozens, it seems like anyway, demos per week. And one of the things that we do on a demo is we'll hold up an Apple Watch and at the same time as running our demo. Or other equipment, SpO2 on your finger or on your earlobe or something like that, and they all match. So in fact, ours is faster than those. The other ones come in a second or a second and a half later than ours. But other than that, yeah, it's spot on. Not sure how else to answer that. So does the company see any potential regulatory hurdles as it relates to privacy? So this is a really important question. First of all, any of the data that happens on I'm assuming that this question is relating more to the vital intelligence technology as opposed to some of the other technologies that we have. So as it relates to that, everything we do, first and foremost, has to be HIPAA compliant, which it is. Second of all, anybody who's taking any of those or getting any screening done for whatever reason, whether it's a telemedicine app or whether it's an entrance app for a school or a federal building or something, it's all voluntary. It's all by consent. So the second thing is, in any public setting, none of that data is recorded about the individual, full stop. There is anonymized data, like how many people went through the machine, what was the average temperatures, things like that are used for the facility managers to understand what the population health is, during that day or that week, or if there's any trends they need to get in front of, but there's no individualized data. Now, in the case of a workplace safety situation where you've got employees that are checking in and the system is tied to, say, a card reader that opens the door that lets them onto the factory floor or into the lab or something like that, then depending on their internal policies or their union policies or whatever, then that data is dictated by that already well-established set of guidelines. In terms of this equipment being on drones and taking vital signs and stuff like that, we don't do it. We ran into a ton of controversy with people being worried about the Big Brother thing, and we're on side with that. That's just not somewhere we want to go. Drones are being used to measure social distancing, for example, which I think is totally appropriate. You put it up in a crowd and you get a sense of like, hey, how well are we doing with our policy? Do we need to put more boots on the ground or add resources into particular areas and things like that? Again, it doesn't capture any individual data. It's just very generic. Hey, this is about how many people are in this crowd. This is, the average social distancing, this, those types of things. So privacy is really, really important to us. It's important to our brand. And that's a good question. Thanks. So the question is, hey, how can I get a t-shirt? We'll put a link at the end of the video. And we have like a perk program for our shareholders and customers and stuff, and for you to get hats and shirts and that kind of stuff. So for sure, we'll just look at the end of the video and we'll put up a link.